everyone! Today I'm returning to a band which is kind of on the fringes of rock, but it's, as far as I know, a great band. I know numerous classical musicians and very accomplished musicians from various different styles and professions who all love ABBA. And while I haven't really immersed myself in ABBA before, I have listened to one of their pieces of music, and that was Happy New Year. It was our Happy New Year song to you, I guess, 2 years ago? At the end of this year? Wow. Time flies. So today it's going to be The Winner Takes It All. And full disclosure, I am not aware of having heard this piece, but somehow this title sounds incredibly familiar. Perhaps I have heard it somewhere in my life. But I'm going to approach this as a first listen and give it careful attention as a first listen. And if I've heard it somewhere, if I can identify where I've heard it when I've heard it, I'll share that with you. If it sounds familiar, I'll share that with you along the way. But let's just take the time to really pay attention as if this is our first time, because for all I know, it may well be my first time. The Winner Takes It All was released as the first single from the group's 7th studio album, Super Trooper, 1980. The song peaked at #1 in several countries, including the UK, where it became their 8th chart topper. It was also the group's final top 10 hit in the United States. In a 1999 poll for Channel 5, The Winner Takes It All was voted Britain's favorite ABBA song. This feat was replicated in a 2010 poll for ITV. In a 2006 poll for a Channel 5 program, The Winner Takes It All was voted Britain's favorite breakup song. Ooh, okay. So, I guess Britain is in love with The Winner Takes It All. Let's see what this is.
I don't want to talk about things we've gone through.
Oh, I remember this voice from Happy New Year. I remember noticing in the Happy New Year song, there's this such feeling of richness and beauty, and at the same time a sort of sadness within the voice itself. Okay, let me back up so I can hear from when the voice enters.
I don't want to talk about things we've gone through, though it's hurting me. Now it's history. I played all my cards, and that's what you've done too. Nothing more to say, no more race to play. The winner takes it all, the loser standing small beside the victory. That's her destiny. I was in your arms, thinking I belonged there. I figured it made sense, building me a fence, building me a home, thinking I'd be strong there, but I was a fool, laying by the rules. The gods make wrong with dice, their minds as cold as ice, and someone way down here loses someone dear. The winner takes it all, the loser has to fall. like I used to kiss you. Does it feel the same when she calls your name? Somewhere deep inside, you must know I miss you. But what can I say? Rules must be obeyed. The judges will decide. The likes of me abide. Spectators of the charm always stay in love. The game is on again. A lover or a friend, a big thing or a small, the winner takes it all. I don't wanna talk if it makes you feel sad, and I understand. You've come to shake my hand. I apologize if it makes you feel bad, seeing me so tense, no self-confidence. But you see, the winner takes it all. The winner takes it
What a song. I ended up just letting it play because there were places I could have stopped, but I just hated to interrupt it. There's something about this voice that grabs me and holds me and makes me hate to interrupt it. So here we sit. Also the lyric writing is well, it's as if it's somehow expressing so directly a sort of grown-up attitude to, well, now I understand why it's the breakup song, to an incredibly devastating breakup. I mean, it has to be devastating, although it's not dwelling on that part of it. It's not dwelling on I'm just devastated, I'm destroyed, I can't believe this. I mean, I thought we were together for life. It's not dwelling on the negatives. It's as if it's an adult saying, okay, I understand. Things happen. This didn't work. I am trying and I am being as fair-minded and magnanimous as I possibly can under the circumstances. It's not even talking about it's hard for me, really. But at the same time, you hear that all the way through. I don't want to talk about the things we've gone through. Okay, it does say at the beginning, though it's hurting me. Now it's history. It's this very, I have to say, this very adult, very mature, very grown-up, self-aware, and generous attitude towards a broken relationship. One that clearly meant a lot. There are some lines in here that are just so so cutting, like this. Talking about, I figured it makes sense. Building me a fence, building me a home, just building my life with you. I had this image of the future we'd have together, thinking I'd be strong, it'd be a great place, we'd build together. But I was a fool. Playing by the rules. Playing by the rules. So, and all the way through, this person is playing by the rules. I've played all my cards, and that's what you've done too. I have nothing else to play. I don't have it to play. You won. The winner takes it all. I am playing by the rules. The winner takes it all. I'm not trying to take anything. The winner takes it all. It's the way it is. I mean, it's the rules of life. The winner takes it all, and what can I do but stand here and watch it happen? The loser is standing small. Well, of course, the loser is me, the singer. That's her destiny. Okay, so the winner is not just the one she lost, but it's actually the other person who managed to win the one she lost. In other words, it's her competitor. It's the other woman in the game, and we just couldn't hold it together. She won, and so going back to this playing by the rules, I was playing by the rules. But then this line, the gods may throw a dice, their minds as cold as ice, and someone way down here loses someone dear. As if this is just... Again, I've played my cards, there's nothing left to play. It's like the gods just throw a dice without any feeling, and here I am. And again, the winner takes it all. Now here is where maybe we should go back and listen to it, because this came back later in the piece and at the very end. And it came back, well, we first hear it with her voice singing, the winner takes it all, the loser has to fall. And we've already heard this once, but now we have a chorus echoing kind of snips of thought. Takes it all, has to fall, it's so plain, why complain? One of the things I love about this piece as I'm listening to it is, and I guess I talked about this with Happy New Year as well, the melodic design construct, the incredibly beautiful melodic lines. Well, here it's less sophisticated than Happy New Year. They're simpler, shorter lines, but still they build so well one after the other. And it feels so natural. And there's a sort of raw power to it. Not just because of her voice, but also the whole musical shape of it. And so when we get to this refrain, and then you hear the chorus kind of off in the background, it's echoing, you hear the thoughts echoing. We get to the end of the song, and I noticed that there, the solo voice is not singing, the piano is taking it over. We hear the chorus loud and strong and full, those same thoughts now getting the spotlight, so to speak. And it's such a great build-up. If you're going to have a chorus, a refrain, that comes, to have some variant of it each time, and yet have it be so familiar. What has happened throughout the song is that first it comes, it's introduced to us. Later it comes, and it's emphasized by the chorus that echoes it. Finally it comes, and it's so embedded in our musical memory by now, we don't even need to hear her sing it. And so the piano plays it for us, and we hear the chorus just like a flood of rushing water. Just it's this waterfall just crashing down on our heads. This throw the dice, cold as ice, way down here, someone dear takes it all, has to fall, and it's plain, why complain? You don't even have to complete the thoughts, you don't even have to say the full thought. You just feel it all coming one after the other, falling on your head, and it just leaves you at the end feeling completely destroyed, really, at this scenario. And kind of marveling at the courage of this personality to deal so fairly in spite of the devastation. Let's go back through, and I want to focus a bit more on this melodic buildup of the piece and point out a few things that I noticed along the way when I couldn't bear to stop it. I love the way this piano introduction, which ends up being the accompaniment throughout, immediately from the beginning, it has this feeling of sort of restlessness. It's beautiful, it flows, it's kind of, in some ways, it reminds me of, let's say, Mendelssohn's Songs Without Words, that beautiful singing melody, dee 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 dee. But then, of course, the rippling accompaniment. But there's this feeling of sort of restlessness about it, and it's not all calm and peaceful and easygoing as perhaps we might feel. Well, this comes down to some really subjective, personal responses to music. For me, it feels restless, and I can tell you why. But for some people, perhaps it feels very calm and soothing, because it does have that element of just rippling, flowing quality. But here's why it feels restless to me. And I can even show you on the score. So let's go ahead and look at this. If you notice, I've talked before about downbeats, upbeats, anacrusis, all of those things. Well, here we have, and if I listen to the recording, it's not exactly as shown on the music here. We don't have this first note. Let's see if we back up. Da-dum, bum, bum. It starts without this note, meaning it starts after the downbeat, but just after the downbeat. Da-dum, bum, bum, bum. And it's set up in a way, and actually I'm going to do something kind of crazy. I'm going to compare this to some of the Beatles introductions, simply because I've invested a lot of time into discussing some of the details of the Beatles introduction. So if you've listened to those videos of mine, it will make sense as I now contrast to something like this, because I'm talking not so much about this band, that band. I'm talking about specific musical techniques. With the Beatles, I've talked about how sometimes they start before the downbeat, and there's this feeling of moving forwards into the downbeat. I've talked also about how their chord progressions, their harmonic habits, we could say, are rather ambiguous many times as we get into the introduction. So we're left feeling harmonically undecided about where home lives for quite a while. In this piece of music, it's so fun to contrast because, and the other thing, sometimes the Beatles and many other songs as well start right on the downbeat. So then you have the feeling of absolute decisive, here is the beat, and now we move through the pattern. Here in this piece of music, we have something that starts just after the downbeat, on a non-beat, we could say, and yet it is a very strong note. It is not only just the beginning of the melody, bum bum, it is also the beginning of the bass and the accompaniment and all of that. Everything starts right here at this point. Now, because it's so early in the bar, it doesn't give us the same feeling of anacrusis or pickup. In the Beatles series, I've talked about how a little bit before the downbeat, and you start there and move towards the downbeat. Da 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 dum bum 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 bum. To quote a bit of Handel for us, da 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 dum bum 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 bum. That running up to the downbeat gives us a feeling of lift and energy driving towards a downbeat. All of that is to say, here we don't have any of those elements. We are not on the downbeat, but we also don't have that feel of drive towards the downbeat. Instead we have this hard, strong, non-beat start. And then we immediately launch into a rather syncopated melodic line, which is beautiful and lovely as it is. Da-dum, bum, bum, bum. And it flows and it feels so lovely, but because it's syncopated, because the way they've set it up, we can immediately feel the syncopation. That is one of the things that gives it a restless feeling, like, okay, the beat is here, but this is just not quite on the beat, and it's beautiful and it's flowing, but something is uneasy beneath the surface. And I feel like that is something which, well, I pick up on it instinctively at the beginning. Not knowing the song, I wouldn't know how much to make of it. Is it just somebody's idea of kind of a nice, not too strong, not too weak introduction for who knows what coming? But having listened to the song now once, I can say that it is incredibly appropriate and well suited to the topic. This restlessness, this unease, this, okay, I'm trying to be at peace with the way things are. The winner takes it all. I'm accepting the fact that the way things went is the way they went, and I can't argue that. It just doesn't feel good to me, though. It doesn't feel good. And here I am. Well, this is a whole conversation between two which were once lovers, right? Kind of, sort of. I mean, it's presented that way. And so here I am facing this person who the winner took him, and I'm the loser, But the last verse, what does it say? I don't want to talk if it makes you feel sad, and I understand you've come to shake my hand. This idea that, okay, we're kind of meeting, but it doesn't feel good. It is so uncomfortable and awkward, and things just aren't the way they should be. That is immediately presented in the introduction, and it's such a nice thing to hear in a piece that you could say it feels like Mendelssohn's Songs Without Words for the piano, and it's so lovely and flowing. Well, some of those are kind of restless too, but that's the beauty of it, is you can have something incredibly flowing and lovely, and there's this hard to put your finger on unless you can parse the music in this way. You might not know, why does this feel restless and this one doesn't? Well, here's one of the reasons why. And underneath, and here come the voices. And they give it a little bit more peaceful feeling, because voices just do that in this context. But still, and then you have the strings kind of hidden back in there.
I don't wanna.
And then this kind of awkward pause, right? We have dum ba dum bum. Wait a minute, it's not starting again. There's this gap, this bit of waiting here. A silence, and it does feel a bit awkward simply because the whole melody has been syncopated, and we kind of fell into it and started to feel it in that syncopated manner. But now suddenly, when the syncopation ends and we end up straight and square lined up with the beats again, there's this moment of awkwardness. Again, such a great, simple, but incredibly powerful musical application of something so simple as a rest and putting things back square, but that feeling of slight awkwardness.
I don't wanna talk.
And then this comes right on the beat. I don't want to talk. We're square on the beats again, not syncopated. Now, please don't misunderstand. I don't mean that the music is awkwardly written. I don't mean that the music sounds awkward. I mean that the music is expressing awkwardness, and it's doing so by these means. It's so great. Okay, now, I mentioned the melody a while back. And so I want to look through and notice things about the melody here and kind of share with you how I feel about the details of it. So back to where Shia comes in.
I don't wanna talk about things we've gone through, though it's hurting me. Now it's history. I played all my cards, and that's what you've done too. Nothing more to say, no more race to play.
Now, it's kind of hard to separate the melody from the voice here, isn't it? Because I guess when I listened to Happy New Year, I also commented on her voice. There's a feeling of just incredibly deep sadness, and yet this sort of strength and determination to live fully in spite of this inborn sadness. And it comes through in the voice. That's what I hear in the voice. Now, I don't know much about her. I don't know other than I believe that this is actually something that played out in real life. They did separate in their marriage. The marriage ended. But I don't know much about her personality and her life. I don't know if she really has this feeling of deep sadness, but in her voice, it sounds like that. But let's leave that aside for a moment and look at the melody itself. I don't want to talk about things we've gone through. This is another one of those pieces that follows a very natural rhythm of the language flow. I don't want to talk about things we've gone through. The only difference is that if we were speaking this, I don't want to talk about things we've gone through. We wouldn't have this great gap in the middle. And so this rest. I don't want to talk about things we've gone through. Okay, this is a more natural pause. Though it's hurting me. Now it's history. And then the melody repeats. That is the melody that we've got for the verse. And so these insertions of these great large rests kind of breaks it up. And if I can use the word artificially in a complimentary way, meaning, while we wouldn't say, I don't want to talk, big gap, about things we've gone through, it does mimic something. It mimics this sort of stressed communication. I don't want to talk. We're stressed and it's hard for us to get our whole sequence of words out, and we're measuring things carefully, and there's this tension in us as we're trying to communicate. And while along the way, as the verses go, it starts to feel different. This is how it comes across in the first few lines. And again, it's incredibly powerful musical communication of the emotional content of this piece. Now, the melodic line itself, I don't want to talk. What a simple line. Da 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 dum. In fact, let's try it here. I don't want to talk. So simple. 4 notes down to a B flat. I about things we've gone through. We end up back on this starting note. So it's kind of a circle round. But it doesn't feel like circling around. Maybe if I did it without the gap. Now it has more of a circular motion, right? That's basically what's happening. I don't want to talk, but with a big gap, about things we've gone through. Now direction changes. Though it's hurting me. And then repeats. Now it's history. And then we're left lingering there on this note. Like, wait a minute. That's not back home. Where are we now? We're kind of hanging loose. And then it goes on. I've played all my cards. And that's what you've done too. Now we come down. Nothing more to say. No more ace to play. And we're left hanging again. And that is how the verse ends. The verse doesn't close on a home chord. It's rather circular, but in a way that it doesn't feel circular because of these big gaps. And when we start linking things together, it feels so simply constructed. It could be a bit of Bach, it could be a bit of Mozart, it could be a bit of Chopin, depending on how you set it and the style you handle it. But it's a simply built, very legato melody. And one of the things that it does is it uses stepwise motion very effectively. You notice we're walking up, we're walking down. We return home or we return nearby. Now it's history, kind of close, but not quite home. And so it has this wonderful flow to it. Having that wonderful flow with the stepwise motion and everything, broken up with these large gaps, it keeps it from being too florid, too natural, too easy flowing. We don't want it to sound easy and all relaxed. But it also doesn't make it sound jagged. It doesn't make it sound, angry, or there's not such a feeling of bitterness as we might expect. It's more sadness. And even as we have these rising lines, I don't want to talk, da-da-da-dum-bum. Even the rising lines end on a descent. Da-da-da-dum. A rather steep drop. We rise, and then we drop. And we return home. There's this feeling of, not deflation, but just, we take a deep breath, but we just can't pull ourselves up. It's a down day. And all of this is coming out and evident in the musical writing composition style itself. It's so well built in that regard. Now, I also love, and this is one of those pieces where, okay, it's verse, chorus, verse, chorus, whatever pattern it is, but it's just the same melody for every single verse. And pretty much the same melody for every single chorus. We haven't gotten to the chorus yet, but that's what's coming next. I loved the way I felt that the story was being told, the emotions were being expressed. When you have a verse which has the same melody each time, and the lyrics progress through the story or the scene, whatever it is expressing, it's easy to start feeling like, okay, it's just a tune to carry the words. But here it's done so well, especially with this first verse, that it sets us up with a completely different level of expectation. And then this is where the voice comes in and the interpretation, the orchestration even. I noticed, and we'll notice as we go, the way in which the orchestral accompaniment, the instrumental accompaniment is varied verse to verse, chorus to chorus, and it works so well. So let's listen for that as we continue.
Now it's history. I played all my cards.
You hear the
And that's
passion in
what
her
you've
voice.
done too. Nothing
The
more
choir
to
comes
say.
in, kind of this sound of
No more
resignation.
race to play. The winner takes it all.
Ah,
The loser standing
here's the chorus.
small beside the victory. That's her destiny.
love that bass down
I was
there.
in your arms.
The winner takes it all. Suddenly, we are no longer going stepwise and stepwise. Instead, we have this grand exclamation. The winner takes it all. The winner takes it all. This expression of, you know, that's the way it is. We just have to throw our hands up. The winner takes it all. It even has a feeling of a little bit of victorious quality to it, doesn't it? As if it's expressing the winner's accomplishment, the winner's side. The winner takes it all. Now, the same sort of intervallic leap is repeated a bit lower for the next line. Loser standing small. And I love the way she uses her voice to really contrast the two.
No more race to play. The winner takes it all.
Listen.
The loser standing small beside the victory.
Now the victory, the strong victory.
That's her destiny.
And carries into.
I was in your arms.
It's so well sung, so well presented. And again, we're working with just a handful of notes. The winner takes it all. The loser standing small beside the victory. That's her destiny. It's this feeling of inevitability and can't be argued with, can't be fought against that comes through in this verse. But I just love this moment. The loser standing small. It's like, it's the same intervals, the same basic shape, but to drop it a couple pitches lower and to change the way you sing it with your voice, it has this wonderful effect.
That's her destiny.
I like that bass there.
I was in your arms.
We're back to this. Now the
Thinking
percussion
I
comes in,
belonged
but it's strong. You
there.
start to feel the beat.
I figured it made sense. Building me a fence. Building me a home.
The string is helping it flow.
Thinking
The
I'd be
piano still
strong there.
doing that
But I was a fool.
Mendelssohn-esque
Laying by
song
the
without words sound.
rules. The gods make wrong with dice.
Now this is
Their
the
minds
chorus.
as cold as ice. And someone way down here.
A little bit contradictory, isn't it? And someone way down. It's a highest peak as we're singing, and someone way down here, but it almost gives a feeling of the height. The God's way up here, I'm way down here. Someone way down here. Great little moment.
Their minds as cold as ice. And someone way down here loses someone dear. The winner takes it all.
And now the chorus
loser
comes
has to
in.
fall.
Repeating, as I mentioned
It's
before.
simple and it's plain. Why should I complain? But tell me, does she kiss?
And so this chorus is where we first start to hear the voices behind really taking on a role. And as I talked about earlier, the progression of the chorus with the solo voice, the chorus sung with the backing vocals here echoing, and then finally at the end, without the solo voice, the piano just takes that part, and then we have the vocal chorus taking on a stronger role. This is kind of the middle one, right? Where we hear both the solo and the choral mix. And so it gets a fuller feeling. We have this feeling of, okay, these are all the voices joining in. This is kind of the pouring out of our emotional feelings expression here. And then when we get to the end, the way this drops down to the next verse and the instrumentation changes. This is one of the moments where I thought of when I mentioned the orchestration, the balancing of the instruments behind. Because at this point, we will notice as we go through the piece, it's all the same melody. We've heard the whole melody by now. We get to hear it over and over again now. And so it's up to the voices and the instruments to give us something new each time. Or, if not new, to present it in a way that is relevant to what is being sung and that adds to the experience of the piece. Otherwise, why repeat it? And so here's the chorus full.
It's simple and it's plain. Why should I complain? But tell me, does she kiss like I used to kiss you? Does it feel the same?
All we hear are the piano and the drums. Well, there's a bit of bass down there, but it's not really the focal point. This is a moment where it's kind of like the piano feels like ice cubes. And even the drums have this kind of icy, crashing sound. And it's almost like it's a callback to "Their minds as cold as ice" line. Only now we're hearing a bit more why it feels so cold as ice, because tell me, does she kiss? And this idea that, oh man, we used to be kissing. Now, does she kiss like I used to? I mean, tell me at least this much. And it's kind of like, it feels like we're punishing ourselves a little bit, pushing ourselves where we know we don't belong, but we can't help but wonder, and it's just going to torture us, but we just can't help but ask. And the piano and the drums give this ice cold feeling of, this is the gods as cold as ice tossing the dice, and this is how it ended up, and we just can't help but ask.
Why should I complain? But tell me, does she kiss like I used to kiss you? Does it feel the same when she calls your name?
Oh, and that question, does it feel the same when she calls your name? And then the voice is coming. This sort of
when she calls your name, somewhere deep inside,
and she sings it powerfully.
But what can I say? Rules must be obeyed.
Still playing by the rules.
The judges will decide.
And then we hardly noticed it because the choir gave us the smooth transition. But all up to this point in this verse, we've just had the drums and the piano and a bit of bass. And then the choir, of course, adding this kind of romantic twist to this cold as ice verse. And then when the chorus comes back, this declaration, the judges will decide, the likes of me abide. Oh man, it's again this idea of there are rules that have to be followed. There are rules to the game. It can't just be the way we want it to be. There are things that stand in our way. The judges may decide, the likes of me abide. We have to just abide by what the judges choose, and spectators of the show always staying low. And that comes with this powerful voice and instrumentation again.
What can I say? Rules must be obeyed. The judges will decide. The likes of me are mine. Spectators of the charm always stay in love.
It's like it's just a sort of declarative exclamation of this is the way it is, this is the way it has to be, and I'm just on the sidelines now. I just get to watch the show go down because I'm not part of it anymore.
Always stay in love. The game is on again. A lover or a friend. A big thing or a small. The winner takes it all.
I love the way that the drums there accentuate because they've been doing other things, stomp, dee, 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 whatever they're doing, and then suddenly takes it all. They shift to emphasize every single one of those syllables.
A big thing or a small.
Bouncing around, doing the drum thing.
Winner takes it all.
And then a big
I don't
pause.
wanna talk. If
Now
it
this is
makes you feel
reflective.
sad, and I understand.
Just the piano, not even the
Come
drums
to
here.
shake my hand.
This is like the sort of scene after the movie ends. The piano in its flowing, gentle style, the sadness expressed. I don't want to talk if it makes you feel sad, and I understand you've come to shake my hand, and yet you hear, although it's never said, I don't think. Yeah. We understand that you, the one we're talking to, that sadness is really not the big sadness here. The sadness is me, the one doing the speaking. And you feel the sadness here with the piano, and it's this feeling of the action's over, the movie's done, stories go on, and now this is just kind of the finishing scene. And then the sweeping strings come in to give it a little more, I don't know, picturesque quality.
You've come to shake my hand.
The hesitation in the voice.
I apologize if it makes you feel bad,
A little bit of bass in there,
seeing me so tense.
or maybe guitar.
No self-confidence. But you see, the winner
And
takes it all.
the winner takes it all. Long held up notes.
Winner takes it all.
What a great voice. And here it is. So after she just cries out, the winner takes it all, and it's just all forever and ever and ever. Here comes the chorus again, without her voice.
The winner takes it all.
Long notes. Okay. There's the piano. We just hear the voices sing, takes it all, has to fall. And that's how it fades out. What a great piece of music. And this last chorus with just the choir singing these little bits and pieces of the entire song, basically. I love the way it is the same chorus. As I said, we have a pattern that's built up here, which we've looked at. But then when we look at the lyrics, what are being sung by those voices? And, well, the winner takes it all. The loser has to fall. Okay. And then throw the ice. Throw the dice. Throw the dice. Cold as ice. Way down here, someone dear takes it all, has to fall. And it's plain. Why complain? It's these little clippings of the lyrics throughout. Of course, it's focusing on one verse, the one about the gods may throw a dice, but still we feel like it's gathering bits and pieces from the entire song, and just it's running through our minds as we go on with the rest of our life, however best we can. We're the loser, but these ideas are stuck in our mind. Takes it all, has to fall. It's plain. Why complain? It's not really any sort of conscious, logical attention to the whole situation anymore. But these are things that stick in our minds, the ideas we walk away with having gone through this experience, and it's kind of the remainders, what remains with us as we move into the next part of our lives. And isn't it so true that is a fact of how relationships impact us? They impact us as long as we're in them. They impact us even after we've left them. There are these ideas, these experiences, these moments that stick with us, and they have the power to change us or to shape us, depending on how we relate to them and how carefully we give them attention and decide what we're going to do with them. But I love the way this song, in such a beautiful way, expresses an experience that is, well, it's a very sensitive experience, isn't it? It's something that could easily become hard and harsh and bitter. And as I listen to this, I feel like this is an expression, as I said, of an adult. Somebody who's chosen to take what comes. Yes, there are consequences, there's fallout, there are things that have to be worked through. It impacts us, but there's a very clear, conscientious choice, although it's never spoken in the song. It is as clear as it can be that this person has chosen not to become bitter, not to become angry at the world, not to allow this to change who they are at their core in ways that are damaging, at least as much as can be avoided. This person is a grown-up who is approaching this in a very emotionally aware, responsible way. And I find that beautiful. I find it not just instructive, but incredibly touching to see. I guess I could say it's a sort of heroic attitude under the circumstances, isn't it? And the idea that, well, we have these choices, and we can choose how we wish to relate, and we can make efforts to direct our reactions and responses and experience afterwards in as positive a manner as possible, in as adult a way as possible. I love that about this song. And it's something that, well, I haven't seen a lot of this attitude expressed in a lot of the rock music. It's more, I'm angry, or I'm broken, or I've been wronged, or I'm bitter and wish for retribution. All of these are human emotions. All of these are human responses, which is a very good reason that we have music. It helps us process our emotions, and it helps us learn about who we are. But this one is yet another one. which can also help us, can't it? So, a lovely, lovely piece of music, musically, technically, artistically, and even content-wise, I could say therapeutically. Well, that's my second piece of ABBA listening that I've done. I guess, even though I've just heard 2 of their songs, I feel like I would love to hear a lot more. So maybe there will be some more showing up on this channel from time to time. Break the pattern a bit from other more clearly in the middle rock, but you know, a few things around the edges, great to have. That was a lot of fun. That was ABBA's The Winner Takes It All. I'll see you soon.